Tonight on West Dakota Fox News at 9, a string of shark attacks stifle a world surf competition. Plus, it could be checkout time for Herburgers across the state. But first, our state budget is coming up short. Tonight, we'll show you the governor's plan for pinching pennies.
This is West Dakota Fox News at 9 with Molly Martinez and meteorologist Henry Blakes. Your first news of the night starts right now on West Dakota Fox News at 9.
Good evening, I'm Molly Martinez. North Dakota is coming up short for this year's budget. How short? Hundreds of millions of dollars. Today, Governor Doug Burgum announcing we're going to need to seriously cut back to stop the hemorrhaging. Andrew Horn shows us the plan.
He wants agencies to cut their base budgets by 5 to 10% for the upcoming cycle, 5% for smaller agencies and 10% for larger ones. But this budget process will be a little different.
So without significant change, our budgets will remain structurally imbalanced.
Governor Doug Burgum made it clear that state agencies will have to tighten their belts again to balance the budget.
Last time when we balanced our budget by transferring $800 million of savings, and this go round we don't have those savings.
Along with the base reductions, he wants an additional 3% identified as a contingent cut if agriculture or oil prices fall. Chris Jones with the Department of Human Services says it's more complicated than adding and subtracting dollars.
We have to look at legislative intent, strategy, what the governor's strategic initiatives are, and use that as our guide to get to the budget numbers instead of let the budget numbers drive our strategy.
Senator Erin Oban says she was disappointed with a few points of the presentation.
As we're making cuts at the state level, to recognize that this all filters down into our local communities is important to remember when we're creating our budgets.
Medicaid and K-12 education are exempt from the cuts. State Superintendent Kirsten Baszler says budgets don't have to stop growth.
I really think this augments the opportunity for us to lead the nation and say, we're going to do the same, we're going to do more with the same.
But Wednesday's meeting was just the first step. So what's the timeline going forward? The governor's office and Office of Management and Budget will meet with each agency starting in May. Budget proposals will be submitted to the governor starting in July, with the fully ready budget going before the legislature in December.
Kevin, our budget is dwindling, but our temperatures are rising.
Yeah, that's right. I'll talk more about the fog and again detailed that 7-day forecast coming up later.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right.
A 23-year-old man is behind bars tonight, accused of stabbing another man inside an apartment in Parshall. Investigators found the 24-year-old victim with 2 stab wounds shortly after 5 p.m. yesterday. They identified 23-year-old Marshall Teagues as the suspect and learned he may have fled in a Chevy Blazer. A tribal drug task force officer spotted the SUV headed west on Highway 23. Officers arrested Teagues without incident. And a terrorizing complaint in Ward County. The sheriff's department is investigating after a man says a pickup truck driver pointed a gun at him. It happened yesterday at the Flying J truck stop. The man says the incident started when the truck driver allegedly started taking pictures of his car. He followed the driver to the Flying J, and that's when the handgun was brandished. The man says the truck had a Minnesota license plate, ADU 263. Anyone with information should contact the sheriff's department. Statistics indicate that North Dakota has the second highest death rate for drunk driving in the country. That's according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. North Dakota averages more than 6 DUI deaths per 100,000 residents. 45% of all fatalities involve at least one driver who was over the legal limit. Almost 1 in 5 arrests in the state are a result of driving under the influence. Some changes are coming to the Bismarck Police Department. Soon, 3 key positions will be up for grabs. This year, Dan Donlin, Mark Bushina, and Pat Renz will all retire. But what will their absence mean for the force?
I don't think the climate's going to be different. I hope whoever takes these new leadership positions in all the different areas, that they accept and utilize what's good and what's working, and then if there's ways they can raise that bar and do some things a little bit better, a little more efficient, that they find those.
The city will post an all-call to fill Donlin's position in early May. Also in Bismarck, the parent company of Herburgers department store is facing bankruptcy. No matter the outcome, up to 200 stores will close as a result. That includes the ones at Kirkwood Mall in Bismarck, Prairie Hills Mall in Dickinson, Dakota Square Mall in Minot, and West Acres in Fargo. There are no definitive shutdown dates, but in each case, the closures will leave massive voids in those shopping centers. To update you on an ongoing story, the Attorney General is suing the owners of Spa de Athena, demanding that they honor hundreds of gift cards sold before the business closed in October. Spa de Athena was a jury trial, and Wayne Stenjum contends that they aren't entitled to one. A pretrial hearing will be held next Tuesday. The state-owned Bank of North Dakota says it recorded record profits for the 14th year in a row. In 2017, it listed $145.3 million in net earnings, up $9 million from the year before. Total assets decreased slightly from $7.3 billion to $7 billion. It ended the year with $825 million in capital. And the state's return on its investment at the bank was 17%. Yesterday, we learned the sad news that former First Lady Barbara Bush died at the age of 92. Today, the National Portrait Gallery is honoring her by displaying a photo of Mrs. Bush this month in memoriam. The photo, taken in 1989 by Diana Walker, shows Bush with her Springer Spaniel, Millie. Here in North Dakota, to honor the late First Lady, Governor Doug Burgum ordered all state agencies to fly the U.S. and state flag at half-staff. Barbara Bush actually visited Bismarck back in January of 1992. She came to North Dakota on a campaign stop for her husband's re-election. And while he won our state, George H.W. Bush eventually lost the election to Bill Clinton. Representative Kevin Kramer says he was a very young state Republican chairman when he met Mrs. Bush during her first visit more than 25 years ago. He says he has a lasting memory of their brief time together.
One of my most prized artifacts of my political career is a handwritten note that Barbara Bush sent to me after they lost the White House. And I thought, well, that speaks volumes to her grace and her dignity and her integrity.
Although they were members of different political parties, Senator Heidi Heitkamp expressed admiration for the wife of one president and the mother of another.
She's my kind of woman because she never blinked. She was certain about what she believed. She was an icon in a family, ruled with an iron fist, I'm pretty sure. And she was the ballast for a dynasty, a political dynasty.
Today, the North Dakota State Board of Higher Education met to discuss adding some new degrees. The board terminated the Bachelor of Landscape Architecture at NDSU. Expanding distance education programs to rural areas was also up for discussion. Reporter Cynthia McLaughlin explains some of the other changes.
You're going to go through.
The entire state is a classroom. That's what the president of Bismarck State College says about the Dakota Nursing Distance Education programs.
The curriculum is delivered over the IVAN system, over the interactive video network system, and you can have an instructor in Valley City teaching to students in Bismarck and Hazen and doing that simultaneously.
Even more rural areas are now provided with the same instruction received at some of the top state colleges.
This is not uncommon, and again, there are pockets around the country that deal with this. Technology is getting advanced enough that you can kind of do some things where you may not be right there hands-on.
President Scogan says this partnership between universities and hospitals is not only bringing nurses to rural communities, but also helping graduates land jobs.
With this partnership with the hospital, one can take the classes at the hospital, and then they do their clinicals at that hospital, and then many of them stay right there and get jobs at that hospital.
There are now 9 Dakota Nursing Distance Ed programs.
Some surprising numbers tonight. According to the University of Pennsylvania, 1/3 of teachers nationwide leave the profession after just 5 years. Today at the higher education meeting, they also brainstormed how to recruit and keep teachers on the job. One idea is to adopt a program that has already shown results at Texas Tech University.
Teachers' aides, others who have finished their associate degrees at local community college can go online and in a year finish up education requirements to be certified to teach. So they're already located in the communities, it's already their home, so now how can they be certified to be teachers in that community where they already are?
Another state leading the way in solving retention issues is Delaware. They focus on loan forgiveness and supplemental pay. North Carolina and Colorado offer moving expenses as well as cheaper and contract-based housing options to teachers. Well, Morton County road commissioners appear to be ready to move forward with a proposal to implement a new load pass system, which would make it easier and faster for truck drivers to move from county to county.
The committee we got set up will make a decision if load pass looks okay to the rest. I think you've given us permission to go ahead and go to load pass. If there's some issues with it that we find out from DOT, we'll look further into the other organization.
19 counties already used the load pass permit. Dangerously strong winds are fanning the flames in an explosive Oklahoma wildfire tonight. A news chopper caught this house fully engulfed last night. The National Weather Service is issuing an evacuation order for areas in Dewey County. At least 4 tanker aircrafts have been deployed to conduct water drops on the fires. At least 6 children are injured after a semi-truck crashes into a school bus in Florida. The crash happening this morning just before 6:30. According to police, the semi-truck driver failed to stop at a red light, slamming into the bus. 18 high school students were on board at the time of the crash. 6 who were injured only suffered minor injuries. Crews in West Texas are trying to figure out how 2 trains collided overnight. Union Pacific says one train rear-ended the other one that was sitting idle and empty. A spokesman says the train that was hit was at the entrance to a train yard, but was partially on the main tracks. 2 conductors had to be cut out of the other train. Both were hospitalized, but are reportedly in good condition. The World Surf League officials are forced to shut down a major tournament after back-to-back shark attacks. This is in Margaret River Pro in Western Australia. Organizers canceled the competition after 2 surfers, not competing, were attacked separately earlier in the week. One of the victims required surgery on both of his legs after a run-in with a great white, while the other managed to walk to an ambulance after his attack. And you can no longer use the IRS system glitch as an excuse to procrastinate on your taxes. The agency says its processing systems are up and running. The IRS extended the tax deadline until tonight following the massive snag. As of Wednesday morning, the agency had accepted more than 14 million tax submissions since the processing system reopened. Today, we're learning that a survivor of the Parkland High School shooting will become the first victim of the massacre to file a lawsuit. 15-year-old Anthony Borges was shot 5 times while blocking a doorway to protect other students. Borges is filing suits against the shooter, 19-year-old Nicholas Cruz, who opened fire on the school, killing 17. He's charged with 17 counts of murder and attempted murder. In international news, members of Cuba's National Assembly are casting their votes today to elect a new president. 86-year-old Raul Castro is stepping down after 2 5-year terms. 605 members voted for president and vice president. Over to a man who always has my vote, especially this weekend.
Right? Yeah, it's all about the weather.
If you've ever had a mild concussion, you may be at higher risk for developing Parkinson's disease. Researchers studied more than 300,000 U.S. veterans. Half had experienced a traumatic brain injury at some point in their lives, and the other half never had one. The risk of developing Parkinson's disease was 50% higher for those who had a mild concussion. Findings appear in the Journal of Neurology. And we finally know the key to happiness. Turns out it's having good friends. That's according to an intensive study at Harvard University. Scientists began tracking the health of more than 200 Harvard sophomores in 1938 and continued the study over the past 8 decades. Researchers say they were surprised to find the health of our relationships has a direct impact on our physical health. Over now to our good friend Kevin.
Yeah, thank you, Molly. Here we are tomorrow, looking pretty good, kind of cool in the morning, but typical April weather overall, but we should be in the 60s for highs. That's coming for the weekend, but still looking pretty good here. The winds won't be too strong either. Williston and Minot, upper 20s and low 30s. Afternoon temperatures in the 50s. Again, the 7-day outlook. Look at this for the weekend, in case you missed earlier, middle 60s overall, and maybe, just maybe, we can say goodbye to the snow for now.
Kevin, I feel like these 60s are a mirage. Like, I don't want to believe it.
I don't know if I want to believe it either. It could be fake news.
So deeply entrenched in winter, and now there's finally light at the end of the tunnel.
It's coming, I'm telling you. This weekend.
Don't lie to us, Kevin. No. All right, we'll see if he's right this weekend. See you tomorrow.